I have said that the essence of a Christendom college education can be summed up in 5 words. Truth exists, the Incarnation happened. I was recently told by a pro-life advocate from Kentucky, John Citrullo, who has been at many conferences with Christendom college tables, that the students manning them always know and repeat these 5 words, which I call our watchwords. Today I will try to show you just what they mean. Believe it or not, and it is almost incredible, at most colleges and universities in the Western world today, which were founded to seek and to teach truth, students are taught that truth does not exist. Though this makes a mockery of the very reason we have colleges and universities. There are professors who have made their reputations by saying and teaching that truth does not exist. This has been called fundamental skepticism. I first encountered fundamental skepticism at Columbia University, where I was studying for my doctorate in the 1950s. I had gone to Columbia from Bates College in Maine, where truth was respected and honored, to a place where it was frankly rejected. I had been taught philosophy by a great teacher named Joseph D'Alfonso, who showed me that all such nonsense can be refuted by simply asking the fundamental skeptic, is that true? The English Catholic writer Christopher Derrick, who had been a student of C.S. Lewis, gave me the right name for this colossal error in an important little book which he well entitled, Escape from Skepticism, Education as if Truth Mattered. As Derrick knew, at most colleges and universities now, truth does not matter anymore. This book by Derrick describes the education given at Thomas Aquinas College in California, the first of the new Orthodox Catholic colleges now spreading over our country and the world, whose purpose is to teach truth. Christendom College is the 3rd of these new colleges and is the pattern for most of the newer ones, because Thomas Aquinas College uses the Great Books teaching method, which does not teach history, while Christendom has lecture courses and majors, definitely including history. Derrick pointed out in his book that the students at Thomas Aquinas College, like all of you, hungered for truth and were happy when they knew they were getting it. At Columbia, where truth was denied, I felt lost and angry, because I knew the education which I had resolved to make my life was about truth, and I could not imagine accepting anything less. That search for truth led me ultimately into the Catholic Church as a convert. The Catholic Church has never ceased to proclaim truth. Its holy founder, who is God, Jesus Christ, said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Standing before him, Pontius Pilate could only ask, what is truth? Today we have a world full of Pontius Pilates asking that sad, despairing question, to which we Christians have the answer from God himself. If we do not teach that truth exists, we have nothing to say. In February, I told you how the Catholic people of Lithuania, when their conqueror and oppressor, Joseph Stalin, a great enemy of God, cut down and buried their ancestral wooden crosses on the hill of Sialii, dug them up and replaced them with 3 crosses in stainless steel, 40 feet high. I was doing essentially the same thing with regard to the teaching of truth when I founded this college. If you are true Christendom students, you will never even listen to anyone who tries to tell you that truth does not exist. You will know that in a very real sense, you are the sons and daughters of truth, who have it and will not give it up, nor ever fail to speak for it. You will listen to our present Holy Father, Benedict XVI, when he warns us, as he has often done, of the dangers of moral relativism, which is the denial of truth and morality. Pope Benedict has spoken of the dictatorship of relativism, and you will heed the magisterial words of his predecessor, Pope John Paul the Great, a history maker, in his magnificent encyclical Veritatis Splendor, which means the splendor of truth, which you should all buy and read and study and reflect upon throughout your education. education here. Every one of you should have it and be guided by it. Truth is the mind's conformity to reality, but there is a kind of mind that sees such conformity as confining and even degrading. This is the ultimate offense to the creator of reality, God himself, the God whose very name is I Am. Such minds prefer truth to be infinitely plastic, their private fantasy and creation. Such a mind hates God, like the devil, whom God said was a liar from the beginning. In the last several lectures, I have told you how the communists thrived on lies. Their propaganda made lying a fine art. I know because for several years I studied and analyzed communist propaganda for the Central Intelligence Agency. For all the years of the existence of communism, spanning most of the accursed 20th century, the guide to the communist line was always the Russian newspaper Pravda. By supreme irony, Pravda is the Russian word for truth. When the people of the communist empire awakened to how they had been deceived, they simply told their erstwhile masters to stop lying to them. And led by Mikhail Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin, they did stop. At the height of their power, communist propaganda lies streamed all over the world. There were 1,000 radio stations. When I was a propaganda analyst, we had people that monitored and copied every one of those broadcasts, and I read hundreds of them. Now their lies have fallen silent at last, and we have more reason than ever firmly to insist that truth exists. Now, even in Russia, we have the real Pravda. What happens when you deny all truth and tradition? At the end of the Vietnam War, the Southeast Asian nation of Cambodia was taken over by a group of communists trained in French universities by people who denied the existence of truth. They called themselves existentialists, and their slogan was, "Existence is absurd." They were led by a monster named Pol Pot, who shares with Hitler the remembrance of a man who killed millions of his own people. These people in Cambodia were united in an organization called Incarnation, which means in the language of Cambodia, the organization. Remember that God, whose name is I Am, is the fountainhead of existence. These people dared to call God himself in his creation absurd. The result was one of the worst chapters of horror in the world's history. This was truly sin on a grand scale, which God will not abide. He crushed it like a loathsome insect. By the time of the final U.S. troop withdrawal from Vietnam, the Communist Army in Cambodia had increased eightfold to 40,000 men, who could and did take over from the Vietnamese communists. But to almost everyone's surprise, the pathetically under-equipped and under-supported Cambodian troops dug in and held their capital city of Phnom Penh. They had learned through nightmarish stories passed from person to person that hell was upon them. In the new Cambodian communist state, the state that Angkor Leo, the organization, was establishing throughout the country, there were only three kinds of people other than the Communist Party officials: peasants, workers, and soldiers. All were helpless slaves of the organization. The land was worked by production teams of 20 or more families, each team controlled by three communists. Not only were there no private plots of land, there was no private property of any kind. Money was abolished. All exchange was by barter or party requisition. Children were separated from their parents at the age of 6 and rarely saw them again afterward. Childhood was lost. Even toys were banned in Red Cambodia. Peasants, workers, and soldiers could be assigned to labor anywhere. All religious and social celebrations were prohibited. Marriage was delayed until after military service and then required the permission of the Angkor Leo. All the most evil dreams of every communist, from Marx to Lenin and Mao and Stalin, were brought to hideous reality in Cambodia of 1975.